Marriage, aure kenan, is highly respected in our society. Many people will advise patience no matter what happens. But today, we want to ask honestly, are we saving marriages or are we sometimes just saving appearances? And when a marriage becomes unhealthy, is leaving failure or wisdom? In every northern Nigerian community, important conversations have always started on a mat. Here, we come together to talk about our culture, identity, creativity, and changes shaping our. Tabarma brings different voices and perspectives together so we can understand each other better and tell our stories more honestly. This is Tabarma, where conversations about our culture, identity, and creativity begins.
I will start with you, Sadiq. With the work you've done so far and your experience, what do you think is the major problem? Are we neglecting that emotional and the knowledge that we are supposed to prepare our couples, or is there something wrong with how we prepare for marriages?
A lot is wrong. The same Tabarma we sit to conduct marriages. Do we still sit down on the same Tabarma to prepare people for marriage? 90% of the younger ones learn marriage from their parents, meaning we learn the good, the bad, and the ugly. Meaning we take emotional baggages into the marriage institution. Old is not always gold, as it said. Society have changes. There is social change. Yes, 50 to 60 years ago, there was no need of formal premarital counseling because we are living in a communal setting where every family knows each family. In a village, everybody knows each other. Now, I can easily say my son should marry the daughter of Suleiman. I have full assurance. But society have changed. We live in cities where we don't know each other. We come from different parts of the country and we stay. Now, how will you entrust your son or your daughter into marriage with somebody that the background check is not there? And historically, when a girl is married into the family, the mother-in-law accepts this daughter, play the role of orientation, will orient this daughter until they grow on a certain age. In fact, most marriages are arranged. Research has proven that arranged marriage, the divorce rate is 4%. Love marriage is 40%. Looking at the statistics of the divorce. Now, it means that this young man that got married, the decision making is not in his hands. In fact, the wife takes permission from the father, meaning the parents are involved in the marriage until they reach a certain stage before they will be left out to stay on their own. But presently, a lot of us don't want to stay with our parents. We move into city to stay. Now it means that two people without experience are going to build a family. How? The northern parts of the country must see and formalize premarital counseling because there is no way you build a home without knowledge. And premarital counseling is there to help you to solve 10 years conflict. You can solve it now.
I hear a lot of marriages also fail before they even begin. Even through, the preparations, instead of doing the emotional part, as Sadiq mentioned, the premarital counseling and the rest, you find out that the levy, maybe the bride, the groom brought to the family of the bride is not enough. They will say, so they'll begin making some comments which will now bring certain conflict even before marriages begin. So what is your take on that?
When it comes to marriages, especially, I think it's not even how Arewa thing is a global thing. We don't tend to look at the preparedness of the individuals for the next phase of life. Rather, we look at, it's a transitioning period, and that's okay, people can go ahead. So nobody is really bothered about the emotional readiness, the emotional maturity. It's a common knowledge that an African parent does not want you to know anybody as somebody that you're courting or somebody that you're trying to get to know. But when it's time for you to get married, somehow they just want you to manufacture somebody. So this is you that does not even know how to interact with people outside of your circle, right? You don't know. All you know while growing up is the values of your home, what you learned from your parents, what you learned from your siblings, and that's the standard for you. You don't know that there are people that have other values that are as good as the values that you have. So when you get married without, I want to also slightly put a disclaimer when it comes to premaritals. Most people think that premaritals is you going into sessions and then a therapist or a counselor teaching you how to do marriage. That is not what premaritals is all about. Premaritals is about taking a pause, right? Understanding who you are as an individual and where you are at this point in your life. And same for the person that you want to get married to. Aligning your values, because you would all agree with me, if we're moving into the next phase and I don't understand what your values are, you don't understand what mine are, right? And we are going on the same journey where in a marriage, your values are going to, blend, right? Have you ever seen a couple where the husband has different values and the wife has different values? If that's the case, then there would be a lot of conflict. In a marriage, you're all supposed to be blended. So it's important that you sit down and align your values. Understand, this marriage that we want to do, why do we want to do it? What's our reason? And I don't know if I'm digressing from the question, but in this day and age, most of us don't even get married because we want to serve the purpose of marriage, which is serving Allah in the first place. You can be financially ready, but you're not even spiritually there, right? And how, as a man now, how can you lead a home when you're not spiritually ready? So all of that are things that if we want a better society, then we have to pay more attention to it. And that's why I appreciate gatherings like this, because this is where we unlearn and relearn.
Why are marriages today weaker than before?
Marriages today, I wouldn't use the word weaker as opposed to how they were in the previous years, right? Because in today's age, we have access to information about people's lives that ordinarily in the olden days, we don't used to have that information. Now there's social media. I'm going through something in my marriage. I can just keep myself anonymous and actually spill the tea and tell people what's happening in real time. But before, the orientation was whatever was going in your home, just suck it up. And you would also agree with me that then women didn't have as much economic power. And without economic power, you actually don't have a choice, right? And I've heard a lot of stories about women that have lived with their husbands for 40 years plus, and then the day he dies or something like that, the woman will say Alhamdulillah, right? So because there were no channels for people to actually express themselves and really see what's happening. But right now, with the internet, you get to express yourself, and with awareness on mental well-being, awareness on just speak your truth, we get to overshare things that are happening. And in that, a lot of people also pick up things that might not necessarily be their reality, but you had this today, you had this tomorrow. It's become normalized in your mindset, and your tolerance would definitely reduce. If I don't know that something is wrong or something is not really acceptable in a marriage, it's easier for me to be patient, it's easier for me to persevere. But when I've heard this person say, don't take this, your mental well-being, you know what, naturally my tolerance is going to reduce, and I'm not going to put up with so many things that if I had no knowledge, I would put up with. So I would say like the reason why we feel like marriages are weaker now is because we get like real-time feedback, and then also people are more aware of what marriage is all about.
In your own opinion, what do you think? Is it that we're taking all the feedback? Because earlier you mentioned that it's not always that old is gold, right? So not all information is the right information. So what is your opinion regarding that?
Premarital counseling reduces divorce rate by 30%. By 30%, according to the research. Now, just like my mentor rightly said, it's not marriages getting weaker. Sometimes we will need criteria and templates to justify how healthy marriage is. Now, because marriages lasted for 40 years, for 50 years, is not the only determinant that the marriage is healthy. It could be abusive marriage for 20 to 30 years. So the duration in relationship does not really mean that the marriage is healthy. Now, many factors. And to me, when I was discussing with a brother, and I said, why our marriages is like this, is like we are using 3 templates at the same time. So we don't even know which template I'm even using in my marriage. Because to be honest with you, we are the most confused generation presently when it comes to marriage. Now, I'll break it down for you. The 10-year-old boy of me sees my mom. If my dad say, sit here for 10 years, don't stand up, she will never stand up. But I grow up and I marry a Gen Z. They have access to internet. Maybe she has masters at that. Will I still use this order on her? Now, the template. What is the template? We have 3 templates. The African templates, or historically 50, 60 years templates, where marriage is just hakuri 100%. Cool? The second template, when the colonials came, colonization takes place, and presently globalization has taken place. Another template. Then I have the Sharia as my template. So if I should ask every married man here, which template are you using in your marriage? Can you single-handedly say, this is the template I'm using? We are combining 3 templates at the same time. This is one factor.
One of the most popular sayings in marriage is, Zakiji, some women are saying, Zaman ya'yana nake. Does divorce affect children more? That is the reason why we hear such words. Or is there a taboo or something like that that is associated with divorce when there are kids in between?
First off is how we look at the marriage institution. We don't look at like what happens in the marriage institution from the outside. We just look at the marriage institution and what it demonstrates or what it serves. Like it's a place of stability, it's a place of safety, it's a place where you have identity. And because of that, let's prevent it at all costs, right? But outside of what a marriage represents, between the couples, that identity that you're seeing, they might not be experiencing it. That safety that you're talking about, they might not be experiencing it. Whatever it is that you're saying, they might not be experiencing it. And that is more important for bringing up a child, for the well-being of a child, for the safety of the parents. Because I know we've all heard about this, like, you cannot give what you don't have. People lose themselves in marriages. You know how one of the places that you can actually experience a lot of trauma is a marital institution because of the seriousness of the relationship that you guys have, right? So if there is tension, if you guys are not on the same page, that is going to reflect on that child, whether you're hiding it from the child or not. Whether you're fighting inside the room and closing your door and doing everything, children absorb this tension. They absorb it either way. So it is not wise to stay in a marriage and say, I am staying because of my child. Because for every time you say that you're sacrificing for, even if that person is your child, you feel that you're being cheated. And again, it makes your tolerance level to be what? To be little. And how can you also, be kind to a child, be compassionate to a child when you're going through a lot? You cannot give what you don't have. So it's important that, yes, marriage is something that is beautiful. I love marriages. But once it doesn't stand for what it's supposed to represent, that tranquility, that sakina, if it doesn't stand for that, and it has turned to a place where there is, abuse, where there is tension, where people are losing themselves. People wake up in marriages, good people that you and I know, and they become so different from who they used to be that they could actually do something that can implicate them, send them to kill somebody. Somebody that, a good person, because of all the, all the experiences they've been having and all the bottling in. And if you've gone through a difficult phase in your life, I just want you to imagine what it feels like going through a difficult phase and living with the source of that person that is putting you through that difficult phase and being in your head. There's nothing you cannot do. So once an environment becomes unsafe, then there is no need forcing it. And that's what we have to normalize as a society. Marriage is healthy, it's beautiful. Allah encourages us to get married. But once it doesn't, demonstrate what Allah wants the marriage to serve, then it doesn't have we don't have any business being there. Divorce is normal, it's okay. We know that a lot of great people got divorced, and when they got married again, it worked for them. So it's not something that we should be so strict about that, you can't move on from here because of your kids.
Thank you very much. Sadiq, I'm going to come to you. In your opinion, how does culture encourages stigmatization of divorce? And who suffers the most? Is it the women or the men?
I think it's very good we create balance, not just opting out, but just like we earlier said, I just want to dwell more on it. You take all the possible measures until all the possible measures failed. Then you start thinking of divorce. You don't just divorce out of emotions. You just want to end it. No. Try to admonish. Try to take some discipline measures. It's not working. Involve family members. It's not forthworking. You seek a professional help. It's not forthworking. You try to make adjustment, because most times the thing I realized recently is most times we thought the problem or the challenge is with the spouse, but we end up being the cause. Because that behavior that your spouse is exhibiting, directly or indirectly, you are also contributing to that behavior. So sometimes you have to sit down and look into the mirror, not just through the window. That is a quick one. Now, if it happens that you just have to leave, then maybe this is your destiny. Then you still come back to your 6-month divorce plan. It's like you have interest in this 6-month divorce plan.
I want people to know
Yes.
the plan.
When Sister Mariam was answering her question, there is a theory called psychoanalytic theory or psychoanalysis theory in counseling. And I will tell you that I have practiced this theory on a daily basis, and I'll tell you that even in this hall, I will tell you that 70 to 80% of our challenges in life is coming from the family. So it's not just about you. Before you go into marriage, if you're in the marriage, you want to opt out, it's not just about you. It's all about the children also. So if you want to stay in that abusive marriage, I want to stay because of my children. Maybe you have 5 kids. You should also notice that you are also destroying 5 children future. And that is like a generation, your grand generation. So before you go into it, think about the generation that will come after you. If you want to opt out, you should also think about them. So staying there because of them, my question used to be like, what happened if they left? If they leave? For how long do you want to stay? And I do tell parents that children are just passerby. They came to say hello to you, and a time will come, they will leave you. Among all of us, how many of us are still living with their parents? If you are still there, sooner or later, you will leave your parents. So my question is, what happens if the children leaves? A lot of people have sacrificed their own life for their kids. But what happens if they leave? You want to be patient in an abusive marriage? MashaAllah, but I'll ask, for how long do you want to stay? Now, this will take us to compassionate theory, self-care. What that translates is you lack self-care. But if you have self-care, you're first, yourself first. You always think about yourself first. It's when you are healthy, that's when you will play the role of a father or of a mother. Now, coming back to your question, sorry for taking that much time. Stigma, culture. I will not dwell more about cultural, what would people say if you opt out from your marriage? How is it promoted? We all know this, but what I am concerned is, what do you tell yourself when you opt out? Before stigma comes, there must be self-stigmatization before someone stigmatizes you. All of us are authors. What we write about ourselves is what that matters. I know before someone stigmatizes you, you are the first person that stigmatizes yourself. So if I opt out from my marriage based on principles, because I'm the only one that understood what I'm experiencing in my marriage. One thing I learned in counseling recently is you don't own anybody's experience. Your client experience is their experience, it's not your experience. Her experience is her experience, not my experience. I can only validate her experience, but it's not my experience. So if I have looked at my cons and pros, advantage and disadvantages, and opting out is the best for me, then I don't need anyone's affirmation. So self-stigmatization is what is affecting us. So we must rewrite the story. Then the last thing I would say is sometimes the language we use affects us. I was in BUK, one of my daughter namesake came around, and she wanted to introduce herself to me. She said, Ustaz, I am a divorcee. That is her identity. Is that an identity? No. I am a divorcee. The stigmatization starts by herself. No. If you use this type of language, it disempowers you. Language has a way in affecting our mental health. Don't say, I am a divorcee. No, I'm divorced. I am experiencing divorce, right? Externalization, you take yourself out of the challenge. But sometimes we internalize the problem and we see ourselves as the problem. No, I am experiencing divorce, not I am a divorcee.
I think my key takeaway from this technically is the fact that we just get married, but we don't prepare for the institution of marriage. No one becomes a medical doctor in a day, right? You prepare for it to become a medical doctor. You spend 6 or 7 years in school, and then there's some post-school training and all, and then some certifications before you become a licensed medical doctor to begin to treat people. If you were to go to a hospital and then a surgical procedure is to be performed on you, and then they say the person is still learning, they want to use you to improve that learning. I'm sure many of us wouldn't agree because you want a professional, you want a professional. The same thing with architects and engineers. You're an engineer. But then when it comes to marriage, we just go into it without the necessary training. And I think that is what they technically said. We feel because we are products of marriage, we feel we know so much about marriage, but you risk passing the same things you learned from your parents' marriage into your own marriage. That is what we risk. Because you saw your dad bossing everybody around, it becomes ingrained in your own programming that a husband should boss everybody around. Because you saw your mother being very, very subservient, too subservient, in fact, reducing herself in every situation to fit, reducing herself too much, bringing herself down to the barest minimum, being treated like trash or anything. You feel like that is how a woman should be in marriage. And because you saw that in your mother as a male, you feel your wife should also do the same. And because you saw that as a female, you feel this is what a woman should do, and you take that to your home.
Is love enough for marriage?
We all love love, and it sounds logical for love to be an important criteria when it comes to marriage. But in reality, love is not enough to hold or sustain a marriage. There are so many factors that help a marriage to thrive. There are so many factors that determine if a marriage is going to last or not. And even though love might be one of those factors, it is not the only factors. And if you're focusing only on love, then I'm not sure you're going to last in that marriage for more than some hours. So this brings us to a very important part of this conversation that I was hoping we could, dive into. And it is self-awareness as individuals. When we talk about marriage, we always focus on, interpersonal relationship, what exists between couples, between parents, and we leave the one most important individual that is in that institution, and it's you, an individual. Anybody can exist in any kind of marriage, right? So long as they are aware of who they are and what they want out of it. I have seen people live happily in a marriage that is even transactional. But because they are aware, it's not something that anyone decided for them. It's something that they both recognized and they approved of. And if people can have such kind of honest conversations, then we are going to see a turnaround in how our marriages, last. So love is not enough. You have to understand who you are, what your needs are, and what you want out of the marriage institution. Yes, we are all getting married to serve Allah, but how do I want to serve Allah in a marriage? Does it align with how you want to serve Allah in the marriage? If it aligns, then easy peasy. But if it does not align, you are in a marriage, you want to serve Allah, but it's not possible for you to do it. And then there's your spouse on the other hand, he also wants to serve Allah, but it's not possible for him to do that. You're going to become opposite. You're going to build a relationship that is not based on that love, but the opposite of the love.
If love is blind, don't be deaf. My lecturer, Professor Dungurawa, said in one of our marital class that love should be the last thing you consider when you want to go into marriage. There are a lot of factors you should look, your prospective spouse, the family, background, the religion, compatibilities. There's a lot of things. In our handout at Brightpath Initiative, we have a formula that is 2 + 2 is equals to 1. Before you go into marriage, yes, 2 + 2 is equals to 1. When it gives you 4, don't marry that person. And the first thing you check is you check the person religious commitment. Then you check the mu'amala aspect of the person. Deen and character. Deen and character. You don't start talking to them except you consult your creator first, then you consult people around. From the findings, that's where you take the decision and see, are we compatible or we are not compatible? Love is just an emotions. There is high tendency, it's very possible for you to love something that will harm you. This is fact. It's very possible for you to love something that will harm you. But when you make decision based on principles, the principles will now direct you. Why do you think we are not allowed to make decision at the state of anger? Because anger clouds your rationality, right? Judgment, the same way love does. And most people that go into marriage, they kept saying, don't go, keka ora, but normally, no, since we love each other, we will navigate it. But when the reality shows, after the honeymoon period and those things, the reality shows. Love, I see love in three ways. There's love like that of a child. Whenever you give sweet or biscuit to a child, the child feels love. Whenever you are unable to give biscuit or sweet to that child, the child never feels love. Then we have love of give and take, transaction. Whenever you give, you are expecting. So when you give and the expectation is not forthcoming, you feel out of love. But there is a very special love, and I want us to look at love from that perspective. Love like a mother to a child. Unconditional love. Mother always give and give and give. She never expects. She always gives, because the more she gives, the happier she becomes. Even at her old age, she'll still want to cook for her son. She'll still want to show up. When you are seeing it as stress, she's seeing it as love. So there is something very important, and that's why we say that love alone does not sustain marriage. We have like two stages or two types of love: emotional love and intentional love. Emotional love comes naturally. After the end of this program, please don't tell my wife. After we are going out, and I could just see a young lady, and emotions will come. Yes, love at the first sight, right? But is that feelings enough for me to start thinking of marriage? No, this is just an emotions. So that is emotional love, it comes. But after the marriage, after the wedding, after some period of time, the emotional love say bye-bye to you, Sadiq. What is expected is intentional love. This intentional love, you just have to be intentional about it. Commitment. Yes, I don't feel anything when I hug you and we bath together, or I say I love you. I don't feel it like when I used to make the midnight calls. If I say I love you, something move around my chest, that feelings, right? But now in the marriage, I will still say the same thing and nothing move. That's why we don't say it's a need for us to say it. Now, but being intentional about it is when you find yourself doing those things that you don't like doing those things when the need to impress your spouse is no more, but you still do them.
I like to unpack. You know, this 6-month divorce plan is still in my mind. You know, a lot of things came to my mind when you mentioned there is this aspect of co-parenting, so much, you know, after divorce, there is a lot to think about, you know, the future of the kids, their well-being, the individual well-being. There are a lot of things that both parents are used to do while they are married, and now they're getting ready to separate, you know. How do we pivot from that point of being married and then divorcing, and then hopefully, because we always hope that when two people divorce, both of them go on to flourish in their life, not then to be in constant pressure from their parents, how, you know, going into depression and whatnot. So I want you to help us unpack those 6 months, and then hopefully, I don't want us to leave this place without hearing those stages. and then also delve into the aspect of possibility of co-parenting. Does it have any space within the 6 months, or is it after the 6 months?
That is loving somebody for the sake of Allah, loving somebody for the sake of God is the ultimate type of love. Like, this should be your keyword when you are thinking about love. Why am I loving this person? Am I loving them for the sake of my creator or not? Then another thing again that is vital, and I want everyone watching, listening to us to know this, is love is a human need. I had a lot of people saying, I want to stop loving. Maybe because of the divorce or something, I want to stop loving. And I will tell you that the day you stop loving, the day you start dying. Love is a human need. You are not doing anyone a favor when you love them. Every human being wants to love and to be loved. Every human being wants to relate and to be related to. Yes, all these things are human needs. The husband is not doing a favor to the wife, and the wife is not doing a favor to the husband when you love them. Love is a human need. It's part of our fitra. Now, coming back to divorce, because divorce is just part of us. Divorce is normal. Nothing's too serious about it. In fact, sometimes when we say divorce, there's this strong sentiment we have towards divorce. Another name for divorce is a decision. See divorce as a decision. The moment you start seeing divorce as a decision, you will not see it as a problem. Mm-hmm. It's just a feedback. Divorce is a feedback. So the stigma should not even come. It's a decision that you took. You know why you did that. Now, but why some of us will tell you that, have a plan. Because you opting out, it comes with a lot of challenges. We will tell you that sit down, start solving the challenges before you go. Just like we ask you to do premarital counseling before you go into the marriage, start doing postmarital counseling before you opt out. Imagine, yes, you, husband and wife, agreed. It's like we are not compatible, it's not working, and I think divorce is the way out. Okay, let's start going for the therapy before we opt out. Do you think the children will still be in the battlefield? No. But most times the divorce happens at the state of anger. Maybe the wife's family will just come and pack her things unprepared. Now, this person divorcing don't even know the next shelter. That's why then it brings about loss of property. Her bed that was made for her, 1 point or 600,000 or 700,000, now she have to sell it maybe 150 or 70,000 because it was not planned. Sensitive documents will be missing. Going out unprepared. She's coming to a home that she's not even welcome. She don't even have a source of income. For example, maybe she depend on the husband 100%. Maybe her dad is old. The dad is also struggling. Now, coming back is like another liability on the parents. That's why she's going to experience this. So the divorce plan will tell, okay, now in the next 6 months, how do you intend to take care of your basic need? The reality, maybe your parents don't have the means to add you to their budget. Maybe you are divorcing from one state to another state. You have a business established there. And now you are leaving another state to another state. What happens to the business? The children, are they going to stay with you or with him? Our women, emotions say, no, give me my children. Are you thinking who's going to pay their school fees? Is there space in the house? How is the environment? It comes with pain. But when you do it based on principle, it reduces the stress.
So if you want to shift the narration of the tradition, we have to embody what we see. We have to embody what we see. We have to walk the talk, right? And I would say, like, also it's very important that we use the resources that are available for us. as professionals, we're not designing whatever we are doing out of because we feel like, right? We are designing these things because there's a need. If somebody is telling you as a couples therapist, and you come to that person and the person is always telling you premaritals, it's because of what they have experienced, what they have seen. The 80% of couples that would come to you for couples therapy, the issues that they are bringing are things that could have been solved at premarital level. And for premaritals, I'll tell you, I don't know how it is, in some part of the world, but everywhere, premarital services are really, really affordable. But couples therapies, like, it's very expensive. Even at the Northern Therapist, you come for premaritals, you pay chicken money, you don't feel it. But it's couples therapy, like, you pay with your nose. Because you could have actually prepared better for it. And at that time, even if you tell somebody, give me your blood, they will give you. So why don't we prepare for it? And there's another thing that we should normalize. This is what we do at the Northern Therapist as well. There's something we do that is called a Strengthening Families program. So we know that at premarital level, in as much as there's a need for preparation, but we also know that at that time, there's some sort of support for couples, all this, like I said in my previous response, like all the ori, they're also good advice. I remember when I was getting married, a lot of people advised me, you know how in our culture, they'll take you to this uncle, this. So my youngest uncle, who is like almost my age mate, was the person that I would say gave me like the most valuable advice. He said, you know what? Now you're using Gucci, you're using this, you're using that. Just put them aside. When you go back to your home, live based on the standard of living of your husband, right? There are so many relatable advice that he gave. Even as a therapist with all my years of experience, some days I just pause and give myself like a prep talk. Like, if you're not the Northern Therapist, how would you handle this? Like, pay attention. What is this person doing that is right? What are you doing that is sabotaging what they are doing? And sometimes you'll be shocked at what you realize, like, I'm even the one feeding that, because every day I'm constantly, and my husband and I have a very good relationship. We give each other feedback, like, you know what, there's this thing about you that you do, and I would tell you this for free. And when you look at it, at that time, it might hurt when somebody tells you, because it's difficult for us to be critical of ourselves, right? It's very difficult for us to embrace what we are doing wrong and what we are doing wrong. So it's really, really important that people explore not only our own strengthening marital relationship, but other things that can help you to navigate the real life marital world, because vibing would not do it for you. You have to be intentional.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the last question. And basically is around our experiences. In recent times, we've seen the growth of so many social media accounts where basically what they do is ask people to send in their marital problems, and they post those marital problems online, and people comment. You find comments from different point of views. People who have zero knowledge about marriage, who have not experienced it, who have not learned about it, giving advices, and then some couples go ahead to use those advices. How would you talk to people generally on how to navigate those kind of things that happen? This is now the major thing. This is what a lot of social media influencers profit from. So help us, give us, your own point of view, your advice on what should people do if they're facing challenges in their marriage.
Okay, so your question is really tricky, because when it comes to hide my ID, it's something that is necessary. Yeah. Why? Because people need an avenue to express themselves without judgment, right? So you're going through a lot. Even, as a psychologist, I understand that when you bottle things up, it harms you. So there's a need for you to express yourself. And I can go on and on about, going to a therapist. Why? Well, let's be honest, how many people really have the capacity to afford a therapist? Talk to your loved ones. How many of us actually have the skill that it takes to listen to people without judging them, right? So hide my ID is not necessarily the problem. The problem is how we respond as human beings. When you're responding to hide my ID, know that behind that post or screenshot you're saying is a human being that is at their most vulnerable. They are helpless at that time, and this is the only thing. So if you don't have anything valuable to add, right? Forget about it. You don't have to share. Even as a therapist, we do referral. You can bring a case, and you know what? I don't relate to this case. It doesn't align with my individual value. And I can't take it, because when I take it, my values will keep on showing up in it, right? So let's start with us. What are we commenting? Is it compulsory for you to comment on something, right? You can see something and just walk and move past it. And then also still, throws it back to us as individuals. Before, going to the online space and creating support for people, what are we doing to our immediate people around us? You have somebody that that was lovely and vibing and everything, but they got married, suddenly they became quiet, they are withdrawn. What are you doing about it? Are you only mentally aware when it comes to something people can see and applaud you? Right? Be that safe space for them. Trust me, if people are not judgmental, nobody would come and hide their ID outside. Because most people are looking for validation. And validation is not, yes, what you did is right. No, validation is, yes, I feel what you're feeling. It's okay to feel this way. When you validate, you normalize. And that's what the mistakes that our parents have been making and are still making. And that's why we are making money. Because you have a marital problem, you go to your parents. Before you open your mouth, they don't want to. I'll tell you, people will pay anything for you to tell them, this makes sense. They are not paying for your step 1, step 2, month 1, month 2. They are paying for, yes, this makes sense. So as people, let's allow people to own their story. If this is it, it's driving me crazy, this is how it is. Even if it's something as little as my husband not telling me I love you back, validate, like, yeah, it makes sense what you're saying. Then you can now insert your advice, right? So I feel like we totally scrapping hide my ID is not the way out, because what do you do with all of this? There's no platform, there's no channel, there's nothing to do. Should people just, swallow their pain, right? But we as human beings, we make up the comment section. So let's try to avoid what we know that we don't have. And we all have valuable experiences that can add to how people cope. But when I know that I don't know anything about this, I walk up as like, I don't have to say anything.
I think what is really missing in our marriage is marital vision. For those that are not yet married, never go into marriage without a marriage vision. Yes, marriage vision and mission. This is one of our templates that we use because it's called marriage design. In the design, there is a session where if conflict arises in my marriage, how do we handle the conflicts? The two of you, who is your mentor or that person you respect so much, that if something go wrong, I can talk to him to help me talk to you, and vice versa. So once there is marriage, vision, and mission, all these issues are solved. You will not even waste time saying, don't go to social media. And one funny aspect of it is, when you don't have marriage, vision, and mission, the society will create the vision and mission for you. Yes, if you don't have marital vision and mission, then maybe culture will design it for you. Another thing, again, you have been talking about culture. One thing I would want to draw attention is this culture that you have seen. Culture have played a vital role in sustaining a lot of marriages. Without culture, many people could have been in the mess. But my only advice here, parents, is I think we have overblown haguri, patience. And what I will advise all of us to make more research on is on assertiveness. We need to start teaching people on how to be assertive. Assertive is how do I express my need and feelings without being disrespectful. But if I say haguri, you are suppressing this couple, the day they are going to blow off. If you like, bring 1,000 imams to come and do sulhu. No, it wouldn't work. Then again, or she's going to be aggressive. So there is a passiveness, assertiveness, and aggressiveness. Every married person or unmarried person should make deeply research on this. This answer, that hide my identity, you throw into social media for someone to advise you in your marriage, the only thing I will say is that is poison. It's poison. I do agree with my mentor. People don't have space and everything, but the reality, it is poison. In fact, I can talk with an audience for like an hour talk. What scares me the most is questions and answers. You know why? My sister here can ask me a question about her marriage. My answer could be poison to her because somebody is going to learn from her answers. As a counselor, you may have two similar cases, but your recommendation will differ. Why? Individual differences, uniqueness in the marriage. And let me share one of the most surprising counseling sessions that we conducted, me and my team in our Kogi State branch. Guess, ask me what was the recommendation that Allah used to save that marriage. Was to ask him to opt out from his job. Is to tell him resign from that job. And that was what God used to sustain that marriage. Will this answer be applicable to another marriage? So hide my identity, and I will tell you the reality. No matter how expert a counselor is, you cannot solve a marital issue just by the question. Yeah. Because you need 100 questions to understand the marriage. Is there room? Oh no, my husband comes home late. Give me solution. Then you just say, no, lock gate. Guess what? Lock gate can work for somebody. Yeah. But if somebody lock gate, they will slap her. Sure, you understand? So that's where the poison comes. So to me, I wouldn't recommend hide my identity for a marital solution.
This discussion has been going on. I was very amazed to see somehow it's been revolving around things that I jotted down. So when the topics were sent to me, so I say, what is the first thing that I'm going to do? So I say, okay, let me go and look at the verses that talks about divorce. So Surah An-Nisa, Ahzab, Surah Al-Talaq, all of the verses. So I started looking at one verse, and then it took all the research hours in terms of what I'm looking at. And not strangely enough, all the discussions, the addresses, the verses, I've actually addresses them. The Sharia, the law, the guidance, or let me say the psychological part of it. And then as he talks about the framework, so mostly when we want to do research, sometime even myself, I will consult books, watch talks, then probably consult the religious text or commentary from tafsirs. So this year I started with the Quran because I've already read a book about relationship divorce. It's a very good book. The Mating Game by Pamela Al-Regan. So as I'm reading the verses and I think, okay, she's probably also stealing from the Quran because there is a lot of consensus or overlap. Or let me say, of course, Quran is going to speak about this in the truthful form or in the most elegant form. If you talk about the language in Hausa or in any other language, just like he said, divorcee, what you can say is I've married before, because I was sitting at the office, somebody is filling out a form or trying to create a form. So he say, okay, marital status, single, divorced. Then I say widowed, because it takes you to a different perspective. A widowed is different from a divorced. Somehow we created the category and stigmatized it, because a widowed lady gets more empathy. In the Surah An-Nisa, in Baqarah, Allah talks about when a woman lost her husband. So the next thing that comes is the surprising thing, that you should not actually ask or seek her hand in marriage. So Islam has this optimistic view that the moment she lost her husband, is remarrying, and it's possible, and this is the guideline. So this is just preparing somebody that this is, the period after widowship is not the end, and it's not the identity. In the terms of control, who initiate divorce, sometimes that is an issue, or that is it. In terms of also dissatisfaction with marriage, dissatisfaction with marriage leads to dissolution of marriage. Even that is not left in the Quran, that if she fears that there is going to be neglect, she can invite people from his side or from her side. And then the verse goes to say, okay, if they wish to reconcile, Allah will help them. So all of the verses, if you look at what is the common theme in the verses, is this: Allah will say this thing if it happens, but then if you wish to reconcile, all of the verses. Because Islam rests on the two pillars of, when it comes to divorce, minimizing pain, haram, la dara wa la dirara, and then maximizing the need for peace and reconciliation. So even if you have the board of trustees, make sure you have the ones that are not going to be judgmental. Don't tell to strangers somehow. It's good that you get these outlets, but don't go to AI anyway. We haven't talked about therapy with AI. It's bad anyway. So these are some of the things I think that we've discussed, but what I'm going to leave us with is, please go and look at the verses, all of the verses that talk about divorce. Don't go in mind with looking at, if I'm going to get divorces or what. No. Go with it and see what sustains marriage when it gets difficult. If you put it in the early stage of your marriage, it's not going to even go to the divorce. It will go seamlessly as God intended.
Marriage should be a place of peace, not just endurance. Encouraging healthy marriages does not mean encouraging suffering. And ending a marriage should not be celebrated, but neither should silent pain. The real question may not be divorce or staying, but whether we are protecting the institution more than the people inside it. The conversation doesn't end here. Tabarma har yanzu a buɗe take. What is your take on this issue? This is Tabarma.